yeah, if you're expecting me to bash this season into the ground, I'm going to disappoint you. Because I actually really like this season. I'd go so far as to say it's really good. Not great, it's not SPD, it's not Dino Thunder, but I think it's a very good season. So if you were expecting me to come here and bash it, like pretty much everyone else does, there's the door, skedaddle. Now, for the rest of you that actually want to listen to me, let's talk about how underrated and great Mystic Force actually is. What's up, guys? What's happening? What's going on? Welcome back to the Animation Station. You know, when it's not just for anything and everything animation, including live action, and once in a while, including Power Rangers. Mystic Force. This is what people consider one of the worst seasons of the series, and I cannot disagree anymore. It's not a great season, no, but it has a lot of really good things going for it. For one, magic. Having magic be the theme is just so flipping cool, and it definitely makes it stand out as something extremely, extremely unique. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, well, at least you think the theme song is garbage, right? Because it's not rock-oriented, it's hip-hop. No, I actually really like the theme song from Mystic Force. I think both it and Danny Phantom are the two good examples of how a rap/hip-hop theme song for a kid's show can actually work and not be cringe and garbage. Unlike the season we gotta talk about next time, which, yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. Let's stay positive for right now. So, Mystic Force. Let's start what we always do with the analytical stuff. First up, we have our main Rangers. We have Vita, played by Angie Diaz. She's the Pink Ranger, one of the cooler Pink Rangers. Not better than Jen, but still really cool. Then you have Madison, the Blue Ranger, played by Melanie Vallejo. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. So, it's the second instance of a female Blue Ranger, the first, I believe, being Ninja Storm. And then we have the Green Ranger, Xander, played by Richard Brancatisana. I can't pronounce that. I'm just going to call him Bronca. Sorry, dude, I can't pronounce your last name. Richard Branca is Xander, probably one of the better comic relief characters in Power Rangers, if you ask me. Then we have Chip, the Yellow Ranger, one of my favorite Yellow Rangers, played by Nick Sampson. Not only is he funny, not only is he all-around awesome, because just like Dustin, he is a geek, and, you know, he's a really quirky, geeky guy, and I really like him. And like I said in my Ninja Storm review, it's a tight race between him and Dustin for my favorite Yellow Ranger. So, yep, it's that. And then, sadly, we come to something I will not defend in this series. The Red Ranger being terrible. I do not like the Red Ranger. Nick, played by Faraz Durrani. Now, not the design of the Red Ranger. No, it's the Red Ranger himself. Nick is a terrible character. That much I will 100% agree with and will not even try to defend with this season. Because, yeah, the Red Ranger in this season sucks. A far cry from Connor and Jack. Then we gotta get sad for a minute, because then we have to talk about Udana, the White Mystic Ranger, and the mentor of the season. Played by Peter Rutter, and unfortunately, she has passed away. So, rest in peace, may the power protect you, you guys know the shtick. So, yep. Sad she's not with us anymore, but she put out a great performance that's definitely going to be remembered for generations to come. Then we have Daggeron, the Solar Knight, one of the cooler designs in the series. And he's played by John Tui. Yep, that guy's back again. I believe he was in... Shoot, what was he from? I believe he was from SPD. And then Limbo, played by Chris Graham, who is the good version of Korag after Korag becomes good and becomes the Wolf Warrior, the defender of truth, as his Morphin sequence calls out. Then for our supporting cast, we have Claire, the Gatekeeper, played by Antonia Preble. Yep, she's back again. Then we have Toby, played by Barney Duncan. And for the first time in a dozen times we're going to see in Rangers from here on out, we have Kelson Henderson as Phineas. Now, many of you more recent watchers, aka the kids that watch my channel, probably better know him as Mick from Ninja Steel. But yeah, this is where he actually started. So, yeah, and Phineas is a cool character. I really like him. And then we have Genji, played by Oliver Driver, and Mealy, played by Holly Shanahan. That's the good version of Necroli. So, and then we have the Tribunal of Magic, the Black, Red, and White Counselors, played by Stuart Devaney, Michael Morrissey, and Elizabeth McGray. Then we have the Snow Prince, voiced by Paolo Rotondo. And then we have the Mystic Mother, who is voiced by Susan Brady and played in the Sentai by Michiko Soga, who sadly has also passed away from the season, so rest in peace. And the Mystic Mother is pretty much a good version of Rita Repulsa. And I think that was a really clever, smart move for them to do. And then there's Nikki, played by Donna Reese, who is the half-vampire daughter of Necroli. Then for the villains, I'll admit, the villains here are just pretty meh, especially this, except for Korag. Korag is awesome, I'm going to talk about him in a minute, but the other ones are just okay. Optimus, voiced by John Lee, is okay. Mordecon, voiced by Andrew Robert, is okay. Then we come to two really cool ones. I know I said Korag's the best one, and I stand by that, but I really like Necroli as well. Why? Because she's a vampire. Yeah, you can see why I like this season. She's also played by Donna Reese. And then there's Korag. Korag is pretty much... Imagine Void Knight from Dino Fury, but better. That's what you get with Korag. The fallen warrior that slowly becomes good throughout the season, which is a Power Ranger cliche, so no, it's not a spoiler. Shut up. And he's played by two actors for some reason. He's played by Jeff Dolan and Chris Graham. So, yeah, there's that. And then we have Imperius. He's fine. He's voiced by Stuart Devine. And then Chimera is an interesting one. It's only in 2 episodes, but it has 3 voices because it has 3 different heads. And the voices are Adam Gardner, Lauren Jackson, and Oscar Burt Shearer. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. And then for the foot soldiers of the season, we have the Hideax. They're fine. Moving on to the weapons, for the main one we have the Magistaff for the main 5, and it's a cool weapon. It has a cool design to it, and it's pretty much a wand. Yeah. You're talking to a huge Harry Potter nerd, so of course Magic Power Rangers is going to appeal to me. And then of course Claire gets a Gatekeeper staff, because she's the Gatekeeper. Then there's the Snow Staff for the White Ranger. Solaris Knight gets a laser lamp. Then there's the Mystic Lion Staff, which is universal to the Rangers, and it's the weapon they use when they're in their Mystic Legend armor that I'll talk about later. And then for Wolf Warrior and Solaris Knight, they get a Mystic Sword. And then exclusive to the Wolf Warrior, you get a Night Saber and a Wolf Shield, which is also the same thing that Korag uses, so that's why I'm not listing it twice. Then for the Battleizer of the season, you actually get 3 this time. You get the Mystic Legend armor for the main 5 Rangers, which looks pretty sick. It's pretty cool. It makes their visors a bit more stand out and have these giant wing things on the back, and it also alters their gear, and it just looks really cool with all the accents of white they throw in with the black and the gold. And of course the main Ranger color. It's just a sick looking mode and one of the cooler Battleizers in my opinion. And then we have the Ancient Mystic mode. This is used by Wolf Warrior and Solaris Knight. And then, specific to the Red Ranger, like almost every season of this show, you have the Red Dragon Fire Ranger. One of the most silly but awesome designs for any Battleizer in the franchise. Like, it's pretty much his Mystic Legend armor, but with accents of blue and dragon wings so he can fly. It's as awesome as it sounds. And then for the vehicles of the season, you only get 2. Yeah, a bit of a step backwards, but okay. I'm willing to forgive it because this is a magic-related season and vehicles aren't really magic-related. So for the main 5, you get Mystic Racers, and then Solaris Knight gets a Magic Carpet. Yeah, that's a bit cliche, but I like it anyway. I don't care. Then for the Zords, this one's also pretty minimal. You have the Mystic Zords, which are Phoenix, Garuda, Mermaid, Sprite, Minotaur, Firebird, and Lion. Lion isn't really specific to any ranger. It's kind of just an extra Zord. Then we have Solar Streak for the Solaris Knight, and then you have Bright Star, which is not really specific to any ranger and is just used. And then for the Megazords, you only get 3 in this season. You get the Titan, the Solar Streak, and the Manticore. And then you get 2 alts, Centaurus Phoenix and Phoenix Unizord. Yeah, there's barely any Megazords in this season. That's probably another reason why it ticks off a lot of people that this season, well, it's one of those aspects that probably a lot of people just weren't happy with. And you know what, I can understand that, because Megazords and Zords are kind of the big toy sellers of this franchise, aside from the Ranger suits themselves. But, yeah. Then for the Essential Episodes list, this one's also pretty short, so let's go ahead and dive right in, shall we? Please ignore the background stuff. First up, you have Broken Spell 1 and 2, that's the pilot. Then you have Whispering Voices, this is the introduction of the Centaurus Wolf Megazord. Then you have the legendary Catastros, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, that's the Centaurus Phoenix Megazord's introduction. Then you have Fireheart, that's the episode with that map that leads to the Fireheart but ends up getting torn in half, so, yeah. Then you have Stranger Within 1 and 2. I know that these aren't really essential episodes, but they're essential to me. Why? It's a vampire arc. Pink Ranger becomes a vampire. And only Chip actually knows how to stop them. Yeah, Vampire Power Rangers. Again, horror nut, you're hitting me right in my perfect demographic. Like, oh man, you gotta watch it. That's why I'm calling it essential, even though it's technically a filler arc. I don't care. It's vampires and Power Rangers. If that doesn't convince you to go watch it, I don't know what will. Then you have Gatekeeper Part 1 and 2. This is when Claire becomes the Gatekeeper. Then you have Security Cat. This is the intro of Daggeron, who becomes the Solaris Knight. And he becomes it in literally the next episode, long ago. Then you have Dark Wish 1 through 3. This is the introduction of the Mystic Legend armor. Then you have Korag's Trial. This is Korag's final battle with the Rangers. Then you have Heir Apparent 1 and 2. This is Korag's identity reveal. Then you have The Lights. That's the introduction of the 10 Terrors. I didn't bother listing them off because they're barely in the show, so I didn't feel it necessary. Then The Hunter. That's the introduction of the Red Dragon Fire Ranger Battleizer. And then you have Light Source 1 and 2. This is when the endgame begins, and then the endgame continues into the return, and then concludes in the 2-part finale, Mystic Fates. Yeah, you get 5 parts for an endgame this time. It's a bit convoluted, and the finale's not very good, but still, 5 parts. That's cool. Alright. And then for the Ranger colors of the season, pink, blue, green, yellow, red, white, gold, or Solaris, whatever. And Wolf Warrior, which is pretty much just a darker red. Okay. That's done. Now let's move on to the costumes. And people hate these just because they have capes. First of all, it's a magic season. Magic of any kind, of any series for that matter, usually has some kind of cape or cloak. So having a cape is not that bad. And not to mention, I'm a superhero guy. I love capes. Unless you're Incredibles, then Edna's not going to be happy. But I really love these designs. I'd say that they are the only designs in all Power Rangers to be right up there with Dino Thunder with how cool they are. Like, yes, I think they're better than the SPD ones. Sue me. I have more affinity for fantasy designs rather than military designs. It's just the way I am. And the visors being like the wings of each, well, not the wings, but like manifestations of all the different powers that each of them have, really gives it a nice bit of variety. And then the capes are just awesome. Seriously, I love the Mystic Force suits. They are some of the coolest in all Power Rangers, and yes, I will fight you on that. Now with all that out of the way, let's talk about my overall thoughts on the season. I really like it. I think this is a really good season. Yes, it has some flaws that I'm going to talk about in a minute, but overall, I think this is a really good season, and people need to stop crapping on it. Does it have some mistakes? Sure. Is the finale kind of bad? Yes, but take all that away. You still have a very enjoyable season of Power Rangers, for me anyway. So what are its problems? Well, like I said, the finale is bad, the Red Ranger is terrible. Seriously, Nick sucks as a Red Ranger and as a character. The identity reveal of Korag feels a bit like an afterthought, and just a few inconsistencies with some of the plots and what's going on with the villains. And yes, the villains being weak doesn't help either. And I didn't talk about this in the other Ranger seasons because I didn't feel like it was necessary, but it's time for me to address the Cal explosions, as the fans call it. This is when there's just random slow-mo and random explosions behind the Power Rangers. I mean, we've had explosions behind the Power Rangers for a while now. It's just that these look far more fake and almost always take place in a rock quarry. Yes, these are unnecessary, yes, these are silly, and yes, they are stupid. But it's Power Rangers. They've always had a cheesy act to them, so it doesn't bother me all that much. Even in the good seasons, it doesn't really bother me. Is it a bit distracting? Sure, but again, Power Rangers has always had a cheese factor, and I feel like the Cal Explosions was the way of them keeping that in check, even though they were absolutely obnoxious with it in the next season. But that's the least of that one's problems. And yes, I do feel like they could have done more with this concept of magic Power Rangers. They do a good bit with it, but I still feel like there's a lot of untapped potential there, which is another negative. I know. It kind of sounds like a backhanded compliment, but it's a straight up negative. So, yeah, you have a bad villain. Well, you have unremarkable villains. You have bland foot soldiers. You have the Cal Explosions being a bit obnoxious. No team-ups in this season. The Red Ranger absolutely sucking. And a bad finale. That's literally all the things that hold it back. Everything else about it, I think, is really good. From the design of the suits, to the whole magic concept, to actually what they're able to do with it, to the battleizer designs, to the writing, to the story, and especially the cast of Rangers. Because aside from Nick, I really like all of them. I like Chip, I like Xander, I like Madison, and I really like Vita. Even though, again, she's nowhere near as amazing as Jen. Seriously, Jen is the best Pink Ranger, and always will be. But she's still a really good Pink Ranger. And I like that the home base of the Rangers this time around is kind of like, it's a mystical tree in the woods. It makes a lot of sense for a Magic season. And then they also have a CD store instead of a juice bar. Being as someone who collects CDs and remembers going to CD stores a lot as a kid, yeah, it hits me in the feels, absolutely. But, oh yeah, and the theme song's good too. I don't care how many people say it's bad, I'm going to completely disagree with you. But is it a great season? No, I already listed all the negatives and pretty much all the positives, but yeah, it's not a great season, but it's close. And it does have rewatch value for me, and it's watchable alone just for the vampire arc. Like, the fact that we even got vampires and Power Rangers is a blessing in disguise. Like, yeah. Overall, I really like Mystic Force. It's always been one of my favorites. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and while I didn't like it nearly as much as Dino Thunder or SPD, I still really liked it. And again, you're talking to someone who grew up with stuff like Harry Potter. Like, I always have an affinity for magic-related series and movies. And this is no different. I don't like it as much as I like Harry Potter, but I still really like it, and it's definitely one of the better magic-related shows, because some of them are really bad, but this one is one of the really good ones, and you people need to stop crapping on it, okay? Mystic Force is a lot better than you give it credit for, and if you give it a rewatch now, I can almost guarantee that you'll come to appreciate it more. So yeah, I've talked about the pros, I've talked about the cons, I've talked about the analytical stuff, I've talked about the suit designs and the whole magic concept. Let's get in the final verdict. Final verdict for Power Rangers Mystic Force is going to be a controversial 7 out of 10. I really like Mystic Force. It's always been one of my favorites since I was a kid, and watching it now, I still really like it. And no, it's not nostalgia goggles, as some people would say, like, oh, well, you only like it because it gives you some kind of nostalgia. It gives me nostalgia, yes, but it's not the only reason why I like it. Like, the whole magic concept is great, and it's just such a unique season of Power Ranger. It doesn't feel like it's trying to rip off anything. It doesn't feel like it's trying to, half-heartedly pay homage to other things that have come before. Instead, it's its own unique thing. And I feel like that's what really gives it its strength. Like, it's unique. You're not going to find another Power Rangers season like Mystic Force. Not before it, or not after it either. It's not a great season, no, but it's still very good, and you guys need to give it a second chance, okay? Stop crapping on it, watch it for yourself, then make your own judgment. Thankfully, though, I don't have any controversial opinions next time, because next time we gotta talk about the horrible pile of poo that is Operation Overdrive. Yeah. I think my face speaks for itself. The one season I hate more than Turbo. Well, okay, I hate 2 seasons more than Turbo, but still. Join me next time when we take a look at what is by far the most god-awful, horrible pile of crap Power Rangers season ever created, with the abysmal, cringy, rushed, baffling, awful, horrible, terrible pile of absolute garbage that is Operation Overdrive. Yeah, I might have to put a language warning on the top of that one, because, oh, do I hate Operation Overdrive. So yeah, if you hear me dropping F-bombs, that's why, because, yeah, it's just as bad as you've heard, if not even worse. Yeah, that's all I got. See you for that torture. Bye.